Today's sponsor is Squarespace, but a little bit more about that later on in the video. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Van Buren in Clearwater County. And today we are going to focus on making Van Buren a wonderful place to live. We had lots and lots of growth in the previous episode, and one of the things that we're lacking is amenities. And amenities of all stripes. We're missing hospitals, we're missing schools, we are missing parks, and you see all these little dark areas, that is where we need to add them. So we are going to make this a desirable place to live. We've got lots of jobs, but jobs aren't all that people care about. People want high quality places to send their kids to school. They want places where they can recreate. They want it to feel like it's not just a concrete jungle. So today we're going to detail, we're going to add some amenities, and we're going to make this a better place to live, and we're going to grow the city a bit before our next episode where we grow the city a lot. So let's dive right in. So I brought us back today so we could see things a little bit easier, and I want to respond to a couple of comments that I saw in the previous video. So first comment is from Kenny V2, and they say, "We appreciate the effort you put into these, hours of gameplay, well edited, even while you have a life to live." And to that, I say, thank you so much, Kenny. That means a lot to me. I can't take all the editing credit though. In the previous episode, our new editor, Jorora, began, and I really think that they did a great job in the previous video. So huge shout out to them. Thank you so much. They're editing this one as well. His next comment is from Nathan Waldron, who said, "You need to relieve the bottleneck by the golf course." So I completely agree. The road next down from being 4 lanes down to 2, and this made a ton of sense when this was initially conceived, but now it's kind of a bottleneck. So what we're seeing happening here is speeds drop down. We come in here and we take a look at our speeds. See that it's 40 kilometers an hour, which to me is difficult to understand. So I'm going to switch this over to miles per hour, and that's 25. So that's really slow. So we're going from 60, which is, a little less than interstate speeds, down to 25, which is going to really slow things down. So I agree, Nathan, let's get this upgraded. So because we had trees here before, I think it's appropriate to once again add trees. So we're going to go through here and do this, and you see that we're bumping up against that park. We're going to have to do a couple of uncomfortable things to make that work, but I think we're going to go with it. We could certainly, now that I think about it, we could operate within our existing right-of-way, which might be the most rational and reasonable thing to do. And now that I'm thinking about that, maybe we will do it that way. So there we go. Now we have 4 lanes all the way through here. And right here near the park where it gets a little bit dicey, we'll just narrow this down. So now it's not so dicey by the park. It stinks. It's weird, but it's going to work. So I do want to do a couple of node things here. So we'll clear things up. And there's really no reason to cross. I could eliminate that. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I do want to clean up this though, and then make sure that we do not have any lights here. I don't want to signalize that. And then here, I don't like what it does with the nodes here, so I'm going to click on that. It's going to go custom and take away all of the markings. And that is much, much, much better in my opinion. We could certainly go in through here with intersection marking tool and fix this as well. Now it looks very, very good, and this should function much better. I'm not sure why we have a crossing here. That's easy enough to take out. If I hit delete there, now there's no crossing. Looking much better. Also a bit of a corruption here, and I think this is because of the power line. We have some power lines in the sidewalks now. Easy enough to move those up. Not like that. We want to make sure that we're getting the small one, or the large one rather. When I say one, I mean the node. There's a large node and then there's a small node. And we'll say that this was relocated as part of this road widening project, which is totally rational. And then just for my own peace of mind, I'm going to spread this out just a little ways so we don't have any of that weird glitching that you see along paths. When they get too close, they start to bleed into one another. We don't want that. In fact, we may very well just want to put a fence up here to resolve some of those issues that we're seeing. I'm also seeing some weird sidewalk issues here, and I'm not sure what those are. I'm going to come through and just see if I can... There we go. Okay, much better. There must have been an invisible path here I was trying to hide or something of that nature. So that is now much better. I want to add a fence along here to keep people out. Right now, you could reasonably walk from the sidewalk into the private golf course, which seems pretty unreasonable to me. So let's find a nice park fence, and then we'll pop into our unified UI. Let's pull this up here, and we will use our parallel tool. Start here, go up to our first node, and you see what that does is add a nice fence right along our sidewalk. We do the exact same thing here. And I'll add one here, and I did that on the wrong side. I'm going to move this one first now that I think about it, just to make sure that we're not inadvertently connecting those nodes. I don't think it would happen, but I don't want a mistake like that anyway. And now I'll come through and I'll add this, tab it to the other side, hit enter, and now I can fix this up. And now it's got that exclusive feeling when we come through here. We'll make this a little bit smaller and hide the unified UI. Come through here, and it just feels a little bit better, in my opinion. We can even take this, put this right here, add a node. Kidding, we can't add a node. We can move that one, and now it looks really good. Just perfect. Just perfect. So thank you so much, Nathan. That was a great suggestion. And the final comment that I want to point out is from Rated R Flow, and they say that I think that adding city services and parks always spur growth, or at least I always had that feeling when I placed them. And that is absolutely something that we're going to do to spur growth over here today. So I really appreciate that comment. We are going to do that in a fairly significant way. But before we get to that, I want to give a huge shout out to today's video sponsor, Squarespace. You ever been building a city and thought to yourself, this is my greatest city ever. I must tell the whole world about it. Well, good news. Today's video sponsor, Squarespace, can help you with that. With its powerful and beautiful online platform, it's perfect for creating websites of any kind. With Squarespace, you can create a website that builds a community around your city by creating a site with a fully integrated comment system supporting replies, likes, and comments, as well as powerful blogging tools to create, share, and schedule posts. And once you've created a community around your city, you can connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content, manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insights all in one easy-to-use platform. If this sounds good to you, head to squarespace.com/cityplannerplays to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to Van Buren. Okay, so there's a few things that I absolutely need to fix in here. First of all, I zoned in some parks, so I'm notorious for that apparently. So right here, Highland Grounds, I believe if we click in here, yep, we're gonna see some zoning. So let's get rid of this zoning and demolish these couple of things. There we go, no zoning in there, no zoning in there, no zoning there or here. There's a little bit of zoning in this park. I was gonna leave it, but we're gonna take it out. We're gonna take it out and keep it nice and clean. So the very first thing I wanna do is, I think that part of the reason we weren't seeing growth beyond not having parks is that the building themes were just a little bit messed up. So first of all, we should look at our districts, and you can see that most of this half of the city is still covered by the capital. And the capital, if we take a look at our zoning, I guess we didn't really zone anything there. Maybe a little bit? Maybe a little bit we got right there, for instance. It's not filling in. And the primary reason it's in the capital. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a gigantic theme to this. So we're gonna be slicing and dicing within capital, and eventually we'll rename that something. But I just wanna have a couple of themes enabled, including commercial wall-to-wall, brick attached, which is more of a high density, downtown brick, which again is high density historic American, which is some of our low density traditional homes. So now that we have all of those in there, those will spring up into here. And in fact, I think we're going to see a little bit of growth occurring right in here. One of the things I want to do though, is within brick attached, there were a number of new assets that I wanted to add in that I picked up in the Steam Workshop. So I'm going to turn all of these off. And I know it's high density residential, and they're called New York. And they're all of these corner buildings. We have a lot of corners, so I want to enable all of these within the brick attached theme. They're larger buildings, more substantial in size, and I'm really excited to see these things spring in. So I think that they're going to fit really well within our existing theme, and that's why we're rolling with it. So that's a good fix in my estimation. And now I think that we're going to see if we zone some of this, particularly right here, it'll start to fill in. I do want to finish zoning in this area before we add more to it. And again, I want to just be real careful with the park. That's a park. So let's be mindful of that. And then the one problem that we're going to have here that's going to live with us for a while is that the power can't jump. So as a result, nothing's going to spring in and grow over there. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a power line, a suburban power line down the road to try to make some of these connections. These snap, which is kind of fun, except that they're snapping wrong. So now it's a little better. There we go. So this will, at the very minimum, provide power here. We do have water pipes underneath our road right where they belong, except for here. We'll need to fix that at some point, and at some points now, because it will drive me crazy. Okay, and now I'm gonna speed this up a little bit because I want to see if we start to see some of these areas filling in to make sure that my themes are working correctly. Okay, and it's pretty obvious that things are moving in the right direction down here. We're starting to see things fill in, and interestingly, so we've got a couple of themes here. You see that this is the end of our lower downtown theme. We might extend that out a few more blocks in the future, but now we transition into this traditional brick downtown theme, and you see the density, the gradient of density, and that's what we're looking for, so that we have a downtown core. So we still have higher density here. Eventually, on the other side of this road, we may start to see a little bit of lower density pop up, but we want to make sure that we're carrying this through down here. So I really like that. So next thing we need to focus on is city services. So we started over here before, and there were a couple of things that were missing. In particular, our fire station had, I had a bit of a problem. I couldn't find the asset. The reason why I couldn't find it is I didn't have it. So we'll make everyone sad, and then we'll add this new asset in, which is another one of the JP assets. So I will add this back to the Clearwater County Van Buren playlist, but I really love this asset, and it's a little difficult to see with the color settings, so I'm going to modify something and see if I can make it look a little bit better. Okay, and I just modified my LUT settings a little bit. I realized I didn't load into my Clearwater County LUT, and things looked a little bit washed out, but now we're looking a little bit better, and I'm a lot happier. So now we've got some color, and we've got some sunshine, and it's much better. So there we go. Now I'm noticing a couple of odd things happening here that I want to fix. I see that I've got some of these really yellow trees popping up, some fall trees that have escaped. So let's go through and we'll revert those back. So I do not want to see anything that reminds me of fall. It is summertime now. It's feeling nice and warm. All right, so now we've got our fire department. We've got our school. Our school is packed to the brim. We're going to need more schools. We're going to need more libraries. We're going to need more police stations. And we should really take a look and get some death care worked in here as well. Then we need a hospital. So that's what I want to start out with. Let's start out with a hospital. And what we're going to do is I want to go into the Japanese content creator pack again and grab this general hospital. I really love this asset, and I think it works in a variety of locations. So I zoned a bunch of commercial through here, and I'm thinking that I don't know how I feel about that just yet. What I think we're going to do is change this. I'm going to pop this. I'm going to go over the top of a road for a second. We're going to break the grid and then slide this over. And then again, I want to look at our parking assets, and I'm trying to do my best to avoid having many surface lots. We're going to have some. We're going to absolutely have some, but I want to avoid it if I can. And especially at a hospital, I think that a ramp like this makes a ton of sense. We're going to add a path through here. And we'll get some nice trees along there. Give this place a little bit of life. So that takes care of our healthcare in this area, likely for quite some time. If we take a look, we've got a great deal of capacity now. So this community has 2 large hospitals. We should be good there. What we are missing is any sort of death care. So I absolutely want to add a cemetery. Great thing about cemeteries is they can act as both recreational places for people who are walking and running, as well as places for death care. So let's add that right here. I'm going to move this out. I'm going to pop it out just a little bit, give a bit of separation, and then we're going to add trees and paths behind this. We'll add in a few benches. Then I'm going to add a couple of large trees as well, and then a whole bunch of smaller trees, just to kind of ring this along the outside and try to take this vanilla asset and make it feel like it has just a bit more purpose. I think we could also do something with flowers through here. Maybe it's just coming along the back here and decorating a bit. Let's get these closer together though to make it feel like there's a wall of flowers. There we go. So this creates just a slight sense of place in this area. So this was one of our parks. Memorial Gardens sounds like a cemetery to me. So we're gonna go with that. I'm gonna try to clean this up just a little bit. And I also, as I'm over here, I see that we have Elk Garden. I'm going to extend this over. And we are going to preserve a great deal of park space all the way along the legislature, the legislative offices. And I think that that's going to be a nice little way to preserve the views of this and make this a special space. One of the things that we do in Madison is we have concerts on the square where you can actually set up a blanket and watch a concert. They have screens all around and different things so you can hear it and see it in different locations. And it's just a really nice event, and I could see something like that happening here as well. So let's continue to focus on our services. We obviously need more schools. I'm curious how we're looking at our high school availability too. Not good, not surprising. We don't really have one over here. So let's go ahead and add in a high school. And again, we've got this larger space over here. So this is where we're going to add in our high school. So the nice thing about that is we have our elementary school over here, and hopefully we can have some synergy with our uses. We're not going to provide a great deal of parking. In fact, really none for the students. This is a densely populated urban area, and parking is just not something that we really care about in a significant way. So I think that we should add a small lot for staff parking. So we'll steal this one. But oftentimes in urban areas, you will see that parking is not as big of a concern. Students will sometimes get bus passes or things of that nature, and that becomes their primary method of getting around. And I think it's a much better method anyway. Considering the students, they're some of the riskier drivers. They've just learned how to drive, and let's keep it as safe as we can around here. So I'm curious about the capacity of this very low capacity high school. So we're going to need another one. Let's add some amenities around here though. This will not just help the high school, but also help the surrounding area, which is one of the reasons I think it's so important to decorate your high schools and your elementary schools. So let's see what we have over here. I think I have tennis courts. We do. They're very large. Very, very large indeed. What I think we're going to do, because this is a park already, we are going to add in some of these amenities over at the park. And we're going to need to modify our roadway network most likely. I'm going to take one of those away, and we will add in the basketball courts that we had earlier. And those do fit just a little bit better. And I'd love to add in some sort of a sports hall and recreation center as well to serve this high school. And that could also operate as a community center. when it's not being used for the school. Now, I don't know that this is going to fit well. We're probably going to have to contort the building to make it work, and that often happens in some of the more densely populated urban areas. So I'm not at all concerned with this. We can have this be an area where people could sit and congregate. It doesn't need to get filled in. Not every place in a city will be filled in. So let's add a path through here. And while we're at it, let's add in some crossings, which going in through node controller and just clicking in any particular spot will help you add a node. And I think that's a huge, look at that. We are now a colossal city, 38,000 population. We are unlocking a nuclear power plant, cargo hub, which is something that I've really been looking forward to, floating cafes, ocean thermal energy conversion plant, helicopter depot, and of course, always unique buildings. I'm not too concerned about those right now. So that's a nice thing for us. Our population is obviously going up as things are filling in. Our demand is starting to fall. Finally, are we seeing these office buildings? It's a little better. It's not great. Okay, so for the school, let's get in a small park behind there. And by small park, I meant a small playground. Now, I want to see what I can do to make this look a little bit better. It always feels a little awkward to have this facing towards a road. And I know that we have some invisible and pedestrian roads, so why don't we use those instead? We're going to add a pedestrian road straight through here. So that will leave us with some kind of weird nodes. Not overly concerned about that, because we can pop in here with node controller, square it up, pull things in, pull things out, make it look a little bit nicer. Do the same thing on this side. And if we really want to get particular, we can even add a crossing right here. Kidding. We cannot. We could just allow the kids to exercise their independence and walk through here. So, very good. Let's get some fencing in here. So I am really excited to get this, to give this a shot. So one of the things that I've done is I've added a mod, and that mod is Prop Precision. It's an old one from 2016, but what it promises to do is fix that issue that I had with things getting all jerky and splitting when I placed prop fences. So let's place this and see if it works. Oh, perfectly straight. I love it. It's not broken. Oh, that's just wonderful. So the other question I have with this is we have the ability now, remember, to go through here. It's not working the way I was thinking. Well, we have the ability to place these and get these to really fit nicely through here now. Yeah, that's just really, really nice. That is really, really nice. So very happy with how that turned out. Now back here behind this school, I think that we should also think about other buildings that might have some synergy through here. I'd love to add a pool. I don't know if that's going to fit, but we're going to give it a shot and see what that looks like. I think it's going to work for us. Oh, and I'll add two because, because why not, apparently. And what we're going to do is, I don't like where I place this. I want this to be across the street from these other facilities. And now you can walk to them. Back here, we're going to add in some benches and a couple of trees and make this a really nice place for students. There we go. I just wanted to place some of these blocked assets, get some greenery through here, and every now and then I just struggle a little bit. So thankfully, got that taken care of. I want to clean up this concrete work a little bit as well. So we'll go in here and grab our concrete. There we go. So clean it up just a little bit. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. And then I'm going to add some more trees through here as well. We could certainly add something else through here, and I think we're going to see if we can fit in everyone's favorite amenity, a dog park. And this is actually very, very important in an urban area to have a dog park. If you think about it, so right here we've got all of these high density buildings. There's not really any street trees to speak of. Where do these dogs go to the bathroom? Well, they probably find empty lots like this and a dog park. So we should absolutely provide the amenities that are necessary to make owning a dog in a city something that someone could do. One problem, we don't have enough room for it. So we're just going to move things over just a little bit, give everything a bit of breathing room. Everything will be just fine. Use Alt to move this over, straighten it out. Looking good. Looking very good. Now, the one thing I don't love is we've got all of these trees that just look terrible. I want to see what we have here. And it looks like we have LP5 full canopy. Just search for it here, and now I can replace those, and whoa, whoa, whoa. It's actually replacing every single version of this. Oh, I get it. Now it's showing me that it's the same as those. Hit apply, and there we go. Now it blends through. Oh, that's much better. I really like that. That looks really good. And I just want to add a few more trees through here to make it seem like this is a little bit more planned. And now that is quite the amenity. There we go. Van Buren High School and the sporting grounds. And then we have this little area over here where we need to add in a little bit more here as well. Now, we still have other amenities that we need. So if we pop through here and we take a look, we've got our fire station. We could certainly add a small clinic to serve this area. We have that big hospital, but we've got a lot of density here, and it will only become more dense. But what I think we really need through here is some sort of death care. So I want to add in one of these cryopreservatories and maybe even a laboratory to serve this part of town. So we're going to add in the laboratory, and we're going to call a mulligan on the police station. Add that back here. And then for our death care, we'll work this in roughly the same area. And I have my anarchy on, which gives me a little bit more freedom to add these in, and I'm okay having a little bit of space in between these. I think that that is perfectly acceptable and fine, and it gives us the opportunity to add in some small parking lots and trees where appropriate. Okay, so I have done a couple of things here that I don't love. I'm going to see if I can spin this around and just get this to fit a little bit nicer in there. Got a tree popping through there, so that's not perfect. The way that we're going to resolve that is to, again, call a mulligan on this police station. I'm sure they're absolutely in love with me at this point. We'll hold Alt to get that going. We can even hold Alt to get that to click into place, and then spin this around. And what I like is this now serves both of these buildings. The other thing I'm thinking is it might be nice to have a turnaround here for the police department. That would be something that I would expect to see through here. We want to make sure that there's no parking allowed. And then we'll run a road back here. Let's make sure we've got our snap twos on. They're not going to help us a ton, but I can hold down Alt, pull this over, do the same thing here, and get that to fit. So now it feels like this is a turnaround so that the police can come out and park in the back or something of that nature. In fact, let's even provide them with that parking. And now we can have some police vehicles parking back there. I like that. That's good. So we'll pull this forward to try to get the concrete to connect. And very, very, very nice. Very, very nice. And let's just add in a few more trees here and there. Okay, I really like that because it provides just a little bit more finish in this area. And you would have green spaces like this. Green spaces matter, and you definitely should plan them in your community. It's what humanizes a place. And if you don't have trees like that, or empty green space even, just a place where someone could throw out a blanket and lie down, you're really missing out. So I've got this privacy fence that I want to give a shot to. So what I'm thinking is if we turn off all of our snap twos, I could run this along the side here. I've got anarchy on. And I wish I didn't have collision. So I'm going to come through here, turn off collision, and then once again come through here. I just want to block some of that trash collection type stuff. And if we're very concerned, we can certainly add that back in. Even play with our node to make things look absolutely perfect. There we go. So just added something in this space to make it a little bit more realistic and reasonable. I like that a lot. So now we have Belmont Park over here, and I don't really want this to be anything special at all. In terms of, a particular amenity, what we're going to do is we're going to use an invisible park path here. Or invisible park entrance, rather. And I'm going to place that right here. So from here, I can move this around and make myself feel better about it. And I do feel better about it when it's right there. So now let's go ahead, and what I want to look at is where I think people want to walk. So let's look at our pedestrian paths. Obviously, a lot of pedestrian activity through this corridor. We've got some through here, and I bet you if we had a diagonal crossing through there, it would get used. So in reality, we would call these goat trails. There'd probably be people that would already walk through here, and you'd see a little rut that would form through there. In the game, we have very obedient citizens. Do not walk on any place besides a sidewalk, which, okay. Not the most reasonable thing, but it happens in the game. Now, you might have noticed, I don't have a side entrance here. Why would I do that? Because I really don't care if this makes money. In fact, I don't want it to. So we're making this a park, but it's really not something that I am overly concerned about being a cash cow. It is a city park, and city parks are generally free to enter. Now, sometimes you'll see a county park that will require a fee, and state parks often do. They're often larger and have a large staff associated with it. You don't really see that sort of thing in a city park, and I want to keep with the spirit of that. So I'm going to switch some of these to bends now that I've completely messed them up, make them look a little bit better. I can even do that with the entryway. Now it looks much, much, much nicer. Okay, and through here, I'm going to do some pretty basic things. I just want to get a couple of trees and some landscaping through here. We're going to be pretty generous with some of our bushes through here. Just line our path. And it's always good to come in and feel your park on the ground. I'm really not sure how I feel about some of these flowering plants that I put in. They might be all right. That said, we need to give it a little bit of separation between those flowers and some of these trees. Maybe even think about eliminating this main tree in the center. Whoa, and look at this, the sky. And find that we've got 2, 3, many trees in that one spot. Oh my goodness, how many trees are there? Oh, and I'll spawn it again. All right, yeah, it's just lightening it up a little bit in the trees. We don't need to go quite so crazy there. And you see that this was absolutely a path that folks wanted to take. We see pedestrians using it, and I'm guessing if we speed this up, we're gonna see even more. Okay, so I think we are charging people here. Yeah, we're making some money. We don't want to. We'll take that right down. And maybe that's a bad idea considering we're losing so much money right now, but we're gonna go with it. So I want to add a little bit more in terms of our residential population. We still have a lot of demand, and I think that there would be a lot of demand to live next to where you work. So let's go ahead and add some of these. We've got a power line here. We'll get rid of that. And then I want to look at this as well because we have a couple of spots where we have zoning and I think it's inappropriate. It's causing a little bit of a break in our grid, and I want to just disable it here and see what that does for us. I don't know that that is a ton better, to be completely honest with you. But we're going to give it a shot. We'll do the same thing in a couple of these areas, just really paying attention to where our zoning came in trying to improve it. Okay, so we'll have some buildings fill in here, and that's going to be good. We'll do the same thing over here. And we're probably going to have to plop some manually in this location, which is completely fine by me. I want to add in a couple of surface parking lots near some of these buildings, and I could certainly go hog wild using some of our parking lot tools, but in these really dense areas, I love just plopping these small lots. They fit really well, especially when we can see what we're doing. So we're going to certainly add these in. And you might hate that, I do too, but it is very, very realistic to what you might expect to see. So now with some of these buildings, I want to use Move It and just relocate them, bring them to the center of their pads. And the reason I want to do that is, number one, we can connect up this back parking lot to the building. We can see these people. Now they're looking, they're like, holy cow, we've got a parking lot. How great is that? That's exactly what we needed. So now there they are. And then one of the reasons why these state buildings will have a ton of parking, in some cases, particularly the DOT, like we have right here, is that, you know, people are commuting from all outside the region. These aren't just people who live in Van Buren. Now, Van Buren is going to want to accommodate the citizens of Van Buren and reduce the amount of parking, have more buildings. Parking lots don't really produce a lot of tax base. Buildings do, unless of course they're state buildings, and they produce none because that's a nonprofit. So I guess they produce value in the surrounding area. Commercial would want to locate next to it, maybe other offices, all things to consider. That said, some office buildings would have a lot, some would have a little. This is greatly underparked. We look at this, 1,488 workers, and this is our surface parking lot. I don't know if this building has an underground lot. I don't see one. I'm going to say no. So this is probably for the higher ups, the secretary of the department, things of that nature. We could absolutely add in some trees through here as well to liven this up a little bit. I think we'll do just a bit of that. These young lindens just work well for everything. And if we do 11 meters, we can get a nice row in between these parking lots. I want to start at the top, go to the bottom, and we'll just mirror that all the way through here. The city might not like the parking, but they will like the trees that come with the parking. Okay. So here with this building, I think that we should back this up, and we need to get some bushes or trees, plantings of some sort in front of these buildings. They look really, really stark, and I really dislike it. So we'll do something there. We obviously need planter boxes for these, and we're going to need something for the trees as well. I'm going to place these assets first, and after that, we will add, actually, no, we should just do it right away. And we obviously don't want that many. That would be crazy. So we'll come through here. We don't want fence mode on. And I think that we could go pretty far with this spacing, maybe every 20 meters. And this would very likely be something that, you know, either the city would require if it didn't have the right of way to add this itself, or it would be something that the city would be adding. You can't add a building this big without some sort of landscaping. So I'm also going to add these little boxes to carry these bushes that we've added. And it seems like none of these are quite right, which is always my fear when I'm doing these. So what I'll do is end up grabbing these small ones. Wonder if I could do a triangle. Nope, that's too big too. Everything is too big. Okay, so I'm going to use a bit of Move It to get creative with this. So what we'll do is we'll go through here, we'll turn off buildings so that I don't have to select that. And now I can pick just my plants. I'm going to move these all out of the way. Now that I've got this planter box, let's go ahead and move this into the building. And we'll hide this with our landscaping so we don't have to worry about it. There we go. It's far from perfect, but it's perfectly fine. So I want to, again, come through, clean up some of our cement, make this look a little bit nicer. And then I noticed some dips through here, so let's go ahead and take a look at our terrain. We do have a dip through there. I think that we could fix this, and what it's going to be is coming through and lowering this road. Not the height of realism here, but desperate times cause a cause for doing so. So there we go. That's a lot nicer, and it's certainly a start. I'm gonna move around some of these remaining trees and move them to other lots as well as it seems fit. So just relocate these now. Just a way to preserve some of those natural trees and really the height of realism, taking trees and dragging them where it makes you feel good. So these buildings right here could certainly be cleaned up, centered within their lots, backed up to the roads, considering that the fronts will spawn some of that cement in front of them, and then we can pull this through, clean it up front and back, and then add in landscaping again. This is just a nice, easy way of finishing these buildings up, because you would absolutely expect a bit of landscaping. There we go. And you can see that these blocks just start to look a lot better. So one of the things that we don't have many of are plazas, and that's certainly something that I want to work on a little bit. This right here, of course, is being preserved for a big surface lot. We're going to get to that at some point, but we again want to think about our land values. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a nice plaza with trees to fit in here or something of that nature. And we've got this, and as long as we do something to make this road look a little bit better, it's going to fit really well. Okay, so for that I was just holding Alt to make it look a little bit straighter, a little bit cleaner. Then we'll add a path through here. Looking good. So one of the things I don't like about these buildings, if there's anything I could fix about them, it would be that there are gravel spaces underneath them. Now I think that is the author's way of trying to incentivize planting things around these buildings. So we will certainly take them up on that offer because it looks really bad without it. Now that building feels a little bit more complete. So definitely enjoying that. So here, I think I might leave this building with this strong corner presence and add in just some trees to round this area out. So we can go with something larger, give a presence to this street. This building certainly looks and feels older. So why have young trees next to there? I mean, you certainly could, that is your prerogative, but I would certainly prefer to do something a little bit more significant myself. There we go. So kind of respecting these buildings, giving them a sense of history by thinking about the size of the trees that would be located around them. Now I'm going to spread this building here as well. Again, add a bit of landscaping and make it look just a little bit nicer. Okay, so I think we're gonna leave that because I really want to focus on growing our population. And right now I'm starting to feel like we're running out of space. So what we're gonna do is add a few blocks through here, and I want to think a little bit about what the city would need. Now, one of the things that the Department of Transportation would likely be lobbying for at this point would be for a train station, because I'm sure that they would be hearing it from the legislature, and for highways, direct highway access here. If we take a look at our traffic flow through here, this is a major bottleneck. Anchor Heights is absolutely a miserable place to be a pedestrian, to be a cyclist, to be a driver, and it is really, there's a lot of transportation happening here. So we're going to try to get things away from this area if at all possible. So we're going to try to improve this and give people another option. So the way that we're going to do that, with the population of this growing so rapidly, if we take a look, we've got to add in all these individual areas. Population of capital, just a little bit of this, is 1,200. Now the significance of that is about the population of Belmont. Midtown, if we look at this, that's about the population of Sterling Heights. Here, again, another Belmont. So we've got population here, and there would be a demand to have more of that population being served by transit here. There are places smaller in the county that have much better transit. So I want to think about reorienting the grid. So the way that we're going to do that is we'll come up here, and I just want to run a road right back to here. And we need to remember what our grid is. Our grid was 14 by 8. So we're going to extend our grid out. Let's get all of our guidelines back on. And I'm going to just run this grid up. And now I want to do the exact same thing over here, but our grid orientation has changed. That is not a problem. So let's go ahead and think a little bit about this. So what I'm doing here is adding a common point. This is the point where the grid will turn. Now this will likely change, but with my road guideline, now I can see where it is. I can find that common point and reorient this grid, wherever that is. Or in some cases, have a bad time of it. We'll just get rid of that and have a weird shaped block. We're gonna use some other magic here, but I'm gonna hold off on that for just a moment. So there's one thing that's happening here, and you can see that we are now getting to a point where if we come up here, we now have another full block here. So we absolutely want to maintain that. And we're coming up this way because our train station is going to be right back there. So I'm going to come and finish right up to the shore, and I think that we're going to need to do a couple of things at the shore as well. Let's run a road along the coast here. And then I'm just going to quickly fill in the grid basically all the way back to here. Although we are going to place our train station right now. Oh, no we're not. We've got a money problem. We're going to solve it. Let's slow things down and try to figure out where we're bleeding. Because we're certainly bleeding somewhere. So let's stop and take a look at our budget. And it looks like we're spending a lot on our schools. So if I take that down, that in and of itself will likely resolve our funding issues. I also should take a look at our policies, because I think that we used a couple of policies to take care of our service issues. Education boost, that's a lovely policy, but it's very expensive. And it's likely going to have an impact on our university, but for the time being, we might just need to do that. We also have the power usage policy, and that is 5 cents per building. The reason we had that is we just do not have enough power generation at this point in time. That obviously, just placing that did quite a number on our budget. It really improved things. I'm going to speed things up, and I want to take a look at where we're at with our power. We're just above where we need to be. We're going to need to do something about that at some point soon. So while I'm filling in this grid, it's the ideal time to just generate some money. So we are going to do that as I fill this in. Okay, and in that little bit of time, you can see that we've generated a lot of revenue, which is great because we desperately need it. So I've added in all of these roads and reorienting the grid, but I think that we can make this look even better. And so what we're going to do is pop into our unified UI, and I want to curve some of these roads arranging at node. Just come through here, click these nodes, and get that to turn just a little bit. Now this would be easy enough to do in vanilla, but you know where it's even easier? When you've got this tool. So we're gonna go for it. And it's gonna cause some problems. In fact, I'm gonna just get rid of that for the time being. I think we may just leave it like that. And we could certainly try to make this meet up nicely down here, but it's not going to quite meet maybe as cleanly as I'd like it to. So I'm just going to eliminate that connection there. We'll have the V, maybe even get rid of that. No, those are really long block lengths. We're going to maintain those. And even go a little bit further. So just provides a little bit of a blueprint for us. And this naturally kind of became a park right here. So I'm opening that up. We'll have a really nice park with a view of the water. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. And now I want to add in our train. And I think that the only one that really fits here is the same one that we have in Verde Beach. So a little bit of irony, VB gets the VB treatment. And let's go ahead and turn this off. We don't have the money to allow a building like this to just sit and operate for no reason. And now we're going to run this up here. Now this is going to be quite a project. And this whole network behind it has to change. So I'm going to delete half of these. And we will figure this out in the next one. I think that this is something that we need to give a lot of thought to, but I want to place this so that we can start to give that some thought, because we are going to continue to sprawl as we have the space available to do so. But if we're going to do that, we're going to do so in a responsible way, planned and organized way. And this is how we are going to do it. So we've added quite a bit through here. I think there's a few more places that we could certainly beef up, and here is one of them. I think we're going to sever the grid there and try to have a little bit more of a semblance of order in this particular area. I want to disable zoning on this side of the road. Same thing here. And that will give us a little bit more orderly of a development pattern in that area. And we have a couple of more buildings to straighten out, but we're not going to get to them all today, obviously. We're going to get to what we can. So I'm going to add in a few more trees around these areas, and look at all of those buildings. Abandoning, I believe that's all commercial, so perhaps not entirely surprising. Still very unfortunate. Looks really sad. And I was going to do something here today, but I think we're going to leave this for the next one. I'm going to have some sort of reflection pool or something of that nature in this area. It's going to look really nice when it's done. So I do think that we need to zoom in, ignore all of the abandoned buildings, or maybe even get a close-up in on one. It's really feeling Detroit-like, and let's have a brief city tour. Okay, so that was a great city tour. I wanted to pop over here by Superior State University because we have done some damage here, and I am concerned about the damage that we've done. First of all, we've got to rebuild that. I'm concerned, though, that because we got rid of our education boost policy, we are certainly having an impact on our the number of students that we have attending our university, which was not at all what I intended, and that was the wrong policy. I wanted education boost. So I think that as long as we don't overdo it and have both a boost and increase the budget here, we should be okay. There's one more thing I've really wanted to add to the university that was mentioned in the comments, and that is an observatory. So before we leave today, I'm going to add that. We've got a really nice point up here, and we're going to find a way to get an observatory up there. So let's search for that. And I'm going to just place that here with a bit of anarchy, and then we'll turn this on and move this right up there and align that to terrain height. which gives us the ability to make sure that it's exactly where we want it to be. Now, there were other ways to approach this, but this is certainly the fastest, which is why I decided to go this route. I'll pop it down and up and down, and we'll find a spot that we're happy with. And then I'm going to run a dirt road up here. Nothing all that, no, we're not going to do a dirt road. We're just going to do a pretty minimal 1U road up here, but I want this to be a 2-lane 1U road. And then we need to look at our terrain because we're going to need to wind this up here. We're probably going to sneak in between these homes right here. And I'm going to turn everything but angle off. So there we go. I think that's a nice fit. Let's see if we can improve this at all. I think that's an improvement. That's pretty good. And the very last thing I want to do is add a bit of landscaping after we get some water and power going up here. Okay, so now that feels like it's been carved into this little piece of forest up here, and I really like it. Let's make this nighttime so we can get a really good feel for it. Oh yeah, that is wonderful. Absolutely love that. And now if you were down here, you could see that up there. That is beautiful. What a beautiful asset. If you were up taking a tour here of the Capitol, you could absolutely see the observatory. It'd be a landmark of the community. Absolutely wonderful. So great addition in my opinion. But with that, I do think we need to leave this here. We've got a lot of building to do in the next one. We've got some more city services to add. We never got to our second elementary school, and we certainly have other things to add, and we're out of power to add too. So that's just one of any number of things we need to continue to add here. Got another park. We didn't get to this one, but we're going to do something significant here, hopefully bridging this gap, but we've got to make sure that we have enough money. Population's going up. We're starting to see that demand start to subside a little bit, although I assume that when we get some transit through here, we are going to see some major improvements. So with that, I think we're going to leave it here. Hope you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please consider hitting the like button. If you are not subscribed, please consider doing so, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.